Hello, what is up everyone? It is I am the one and only Sonic the Hedgehog. And I'm Knuckles the Echidna here. We are from the likes of the Maxi Toys videos once again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 64. So last time we have basically just went through the 4th playthrough of Player 1 game as Samus Aran right here. And today for this episode is the fact that we are moving on to the next character in the lineup, and that's what appears to be Yoshi. And without further ado, let's get this thing to it. So either way though, obviously if you couldn't tell for today's video, is the fact that obviously today's day is of course the 18th of November today, in this case in this forms of this case in 2020. Even though we originally going to able to do this on the first attempt, much like the forms of Link's playthrough of this particular one-player game mode, except the fact that, well, sometimes we obviously get ourselves a bit screwed over sometimes. Well, usually most of the time though, but oh wow, Link just somehow explodes on itself. And then he obviously just managed to able to, you know, fell off the stage in the process there, so hey, at least we'll take it I suppose. So now we're going to be faced off against with a whole bunch of Yoshis as Yoshi. Even though, weirdly enough though, is the fact that it still it still managed to show us Green Yoshi during the forms of Team Yoshi team. Because of this though, eventually at this point is that the other Green Yoshi gets a bit lighter in comparison to likely any other variations of it. So I'm pretty sure it only happens during the forms of team battle mode, whenever you play versus mode. Yeah, I was thinking about the same thing, Knuckles. I was about to be thinking of the same thing. So, anyways, how it works for Yoshi in this game is the fact that obviously since every single character's managed to have 3 special moves or what have you, so in this case that's for a standalone B attack, in this case the regular special attack for Yoshi, obviously he can able to swallow up opponents, and then what he can do is the fact that he can able to actually just to pull off the actual move called Egg Lay, which representing the forms of similar move as in the forms of the Yoshi's Island games basically, except the fact that obviously the biggest difference is this time is that obviously Yoshi can able to eat up enemies or specifically opponents as far as I'm aware. Like for instance that obviously if you're trying to swallow up Fox McCloud for example, and basically if you're trying to do the Egg Lay attack, basically he'll create the actual Yoshi's egg that usually just gets some opponents manage to get trapped inside the Yoshi's egg for a certain amount of time. Yeah, exactly. And also if you manage to, oh wow, Fox just managed to able to kick up butts recently. Well, usually as a matter of fact though, that this is still on normal mode, so we can expect this much. So anyway, let's go ahead and just kick his butt without any sort of delays or anything like that, despite, you know, some very tricky dodges that he obviously always trying to do. And besides, he was the fastest character in the game, so, well, along with Captain Falcon, which we'll get to him at some point during the next 2 weeks or so. So either way though, that's pretty much how this goes basically. Here we go on to break the target as Yoshi, so even then though, it might be seems a bit tricky for you, but regardless of such though, it might be seems pretty easy if you get the hang of it. Like for instance, there's also another special move that Yoshi can do, and that is the forms of the actual egg throw. Sort of similar to the Yoshi's Island games, except the fact that there is no cursor. So, and the final special move what Yoshi can do is the fact that if you're trying to utilize the down special attack for the B button, basically it allows Yoshi can able to do a Yoshi bomb. Like, it kind of reminds me of a similar thing as the forms of how it does it as in like several ground pounds or anything like that, except the fact that it just calls it Yoshi Bomb for the sake of the forms of that particular, you know, hit detection or something, or maybe, I don't know. It has been a long time since we actually played this though, because again, we used to with the future games, including Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, so now let's go ahead and team up with Fox McCloud as, well, we're going to be competing against with Mario and Luigi, so, you know, for the 5th time in a row as it is, so. Okay, something's worth mentioning for this point as well is the fact that for those who lived in the UK, we're about to be celebrating 3 number of things actually. Well, actually 4 if you want to count the forms of if you are well, let's just say a combination of a Lego fan or the Harry Potter fan. And that is the forms of how the fact that recently, during the forms of been, obviously, as far as you know, is the fact that it's the 18th of November today in 2020. Happy 9th anniversary of the releases of Super Mario 3D Land for the American, no, not the American version, the UK version I should say, as well as Mario and Sonic at the London Olympics 2012, or to be more specifically, Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games, on the Wii version specifically. And also, same applies to The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. And finally, perhaps even most notably out of them all though, is of course Lego Harry Potter years 5 to 7. So, at least, speaking of such though, is the fact that obviously Lego Harry Potter years 1 through 4 is already a decade old. So, and looks like, as you can see, that Pikachu doesn't do completely stupid this time around though, which I'm guessing he wants a bit of a payback for us of what he was about to be doing from the likes of the past 4 parts ago. So, I guess then that makes it pretty obvious for that point. So, yeah, the main emphasis on Salvation City, or Sevron City, is that obviously if you go right near to that particular door, like what Pikachu just managed to run into, some random Generation 1 Pokemon were able to actually decide to show up during that particular elevator door, something like that, and that way you would able to actually get hit in the process, depending on what Pokemon they able to actually just to show up. So, yeah, something's worth mentioning. And once again, we're teaming up with Fox again for the second time. Except now we have Mario join into the actual team, so yeah, that's worth mentioning. And another thing I want to talk about is the fact that obviously, if you couldn't tell from today, is that recently Mario Kart Tour just has recently hosted a brand new tour recently, which this time around is of course Mario vs Luigi Tour. Although I would like to talk about more further details about the forms of that particular tour, but unfortunately though, that I don't think we can able to discuss on that for quite a while, until eventually at some point on Friday, or in some cases that Daffy Duck will mention more about that, until when he goes back on to... no! Son of a biscuit. Yeah, anyway though, oh shoot. No, get away. No! No, please don't you dare, please don't be like the same thing as... Yep, it's already too late. Oh wow, we just got butt-kicked by giant Donkey Kong of all things. Even though imagine if this was on very hard mode, that would be pretty much a pain, but other than that though, we just had a bit of a rough experience on that particular stage, so... Well, besides we got ourselves the start finish though, as far as the actual points tally as far as I'm concerned. But anyway though, I suppose another thing I should probably explain about this as well, that obviously we have managed to able to actually access to even more Game Boy games we'd like to able to tackle through for the sake of Let's Plays department in the future. Perhaps even most notably of them all though is of course the Wario Land series, which are Super Mario Land 3, Wario Land, and also Wario Land 2, Wario Land 3, and also same applies to any other games here and there as well, which we're not going to spoil for this point and onwards, just because obviously we'll find out for ourselves during at some point, maybe at some point in next year or something for 2021. So, no, that was a bad mistake. But obviously we'll come back for that for a successful attempt after we're done with this, basically, so... I don't know, I suppose, if you actually knows about the fact that what's going on with me recently. Recently, from the likes of, at this early point in time, unfortunately though, I seem to get my massive headache, which, it's nothing to do with the actual game or anything, it's just that, well, most of the time though, is the fact that sometimes if we were able to actually do something like, you know, some of our recording attempts on certain things, or something like that for that matter, but otherwise though, it's the fact that we just get a little bit, well, distractingly and stuff like that, so... Oh yeah, let's talk about the main feature about the forms of the main topic about the forms of today, and that was the forms of we have managed to see our the SpongeBob movie Sponge on the Run recently on Netflix, and for one of my final thoughts of the actual film, even though we're not gonna spoil anything for this point, just because, well, I know for the fact that some American owners out there that who managed to able to actually already see the film, thanks to the forms of that very useful VPN or VPN kind of application where you can able to, like, I'm not exactly sure of which specific stuff I was gonna point things out. In fact, let me know in the comments below. And speaking of such though, is that, yeah, let's talk about the forms of our final thoughts of the SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run, recently came out in 2020 from across the world, except in America, which it wasn't until next year that Americans can able to finally experience the film, so... But anyway, what I've noticed is the fact that the only, quite a few good things actually, for the sake of that particular film, is the fact that the visual style, while may look a bit, you know, completely feels very similar to the forms of Sponge on Out of Water, but except the fact that the visuals do look really, really good, even for the actual visual style and stuff like that. And also, well, there are some pop culture songs here and there, which is, it feels kind of almost out of place sometimes, or maybe usually I think the last thing that's usually a good thing about the film is that it's great to see SpongeBob on a big screen again. Well, technically speaking, it's the fact that, well, again, that particular film was on demand recently on our country in the UK. Even though, again, we feel sorry for American fans out there that you have to wait for a long while, so that seems kind of sucks for them. So, yeah, and what's my negative things about the film? Obviously, if you couldn't tell, is the fact that this particular film, story-wise, is actually a reuse, or it's just a rehash of the forms of, let's just say, for instance, for example, you remember the episode of one of those SpongeBob specials, by the forms of Where's My Gary episode? I think it was actually in Season 4, if possible, if I may be wrong, but, in that particular episode, it does involves around when, Gary managed to or Gary the snail, and basically it's the fact that, well, he somehow left SpongeBob's house, while, even though it might be hard to explain about that particular episode, because it has been donkey's years since we actually last seen that episode. But, except a notable difference is the fact that, obviously, that one of the old women did manage to actually take Gary away from the likes of SpongeBob's life or something, but either way though, and as far as the only major difference is obviously is the fact that, well, Gary's being snail napped and stuff like that. Even though the actual, the actual story plot lines is actually, you know, as I mentioned this before, for Sponge on the Run, is actually a rehash of one of those episodes in Season 4, which I know for the fact that it might be seems unoriginal though, in terms of that particular storyline. And also another nitpicking I have with the film is the fact that they somehow, for the very first time in the forms of the SpongeBob industries of all things, they now managed to start saying minor curse words, like one of them says like damned, and also another one says like crappy and stuff like that, which to me though feels kind of out of place for a SpongeBob movie like this. And also I've noticed there are some slight pacing issues on the actual film, even though we're not going to spoil anything for this point, unless if for the first time, well, it's kind of hard to explain. But overall, I found this okay, but definitely to me that was one of my least favorite SpongeBob movies out of all three of the films. Like, I still kind of prefer Sponge Out of Water because it was actually new and unique. And the SpongeBob movie is part of my nostalgia. And also because of how the fact that, well, usually relatively speaking, is the fact that, unfortunately for the box office wise, for the likes of Sponge on the Run, on, let's just say on the cinema screen, that, basically it's the fact that they only have, like, $4 million box office wise, which is not much compared to the forms of how it does it in, I would say, the other two films specifically, even though it has been a long time since we actually did manage to watch those two previous films back to back, and even realizes the fact that they don't have anything originality for the third film or something. At least the actual the lost city of well, I can't remember what that place is called actually, but at least that particular the final act is actually pretty cool in terms of visual design and stuff like that. And also I found the actual one of those, well, we're not gonna spoil anything heavenly though, because it's a more recent film, ever since the Journey films whenever it first came out in Canada. Well, at least relatively speaking as it is. But overall, I think I will say that this is one of the weaker films out of all the 3 SpongeBob movies that we've ever seen. Even though that, oh my god, what a massive knockout. Drat. Screw you, Link, or screw you, Polygon Link. I'm guessing it's probably because that he's trying to teach me of you haven't played Breath of the Wild for a certain amount of time. Although, mind you, it's because of how the fact that, well, usually Daffy Duck is always busy on playing Team Sonic Racing recently to do a Let's Play off of it, and also we just managed to focusing on saving up some other titles for the Nintendo Switch in the future. Specifically, you know, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. Yeah, which that was the only, Nintendo Wii U game port I'm really looking forward to. Well, specifically, Knuckles, it's just the Switch port of the already existing Wii U game we're actually really looking forward to. Especially noticeable, we can able to replay that game for the second time, or to be more specifically, the 3rd time in a row, just because, although we did manage to play the Wii U version back in the day in 2013, but we have managed to finish it completely ever since in 2017, and in fact, the second time we've actually completed the game was actually recently, during the forms of in this year in 2020, just around the corner when the Switch version did somehow manage to announce, which I was like, I'm very cool with that, especially because that, you know, we can now able to finally play Super Mario 3D World on the go, so you don't need to worry about the forms of this disjointed, you know, Wii U gamepad disconnection or something, so, and, wow, that's a really cool ending, where you can able to actually do an egg throw by Master Hand right there. Yeah, that seems a very cool finish though, Sonic. So, yeah, there's not much else I can usually just try to say about this, honestly, because, you know, relatively speaking, it's because not much else to say, apart from the fact that we have seen Sponge on the Run. In fact, let me know in the comments below of what do you think about the forms of the SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run film that did recently came out in Canada on a big screen, even though it's been out for about 3 months ago, actually, for Canada release. But as far as Netflix, as far as I'm concerned, with most countries, specifically in the United Kingdom and all that jazz though, let me know in the comments for your, what's your thoughts about the films of the whole entire film. Even though that, unfortunately, as I said, unfortunately for America, they don't seem to able to get the chance to able to get their hands on the film, or else if the actual Americans' final release date will happen, so, but we'll see. And of course, before we end things off right here is the fact that obviously we need to try this board the platforms as Yoshi again, except, well, doing a ground pound or the actual Yoshi bomb special move will be a bad idea, because otherwise you will instantly fall off. So, hopefully for the 3rd time's a charm, and hopefully we would be able to succeed. So, hopefully that should be a part of a plan for ourselves, right? Yes, exactly. Anyways, so now we're done with that, and now it's focusing on the final 3 platforms just up in the distance. And, hopefully we should be good to go here. So, yeah, I think we should probably end things off at this point right here, I'm afraid, for this point, guys. So, join us next time for more of Let's Play of Super Smash Bros. It's the fact that we're about to be moving on to the 6th character, which appears to be none other than Kirby. Yes, we're really looking forward to playing as Kirby again. Yeah, I know that. So we'll see you guys until on Friday. Later, fellas.